Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be looking at volume of spheres. So far we've learned how to find the volume of a cylinder and a cone. And just to review, the volume of a cylinder is V equals pi times the radius squared times the height. And you'll also recall that the volume of a cone is V is equal to, just like the cylinder, pi times the radius squared times the height, but that's all divided by 3. Or we could say 1/3 times pi r squared times the height. Now, today we're going to be learning about how to find the volume of a sphere, and all we need to know for a sphere to find the volume is just the radius. So where in the cylinder and the cone we needed a height and a radius, in a sphere, all we have is a radius. The radius connects out from the center of the sphere out to the entire surface of the circle, of the sphere in any direction. And so if you look at my picture of the sphere here, we have our radius drawn in there. I could also draw a radius this direction, or this direction, or this direction. In any direction that you go out to the outside shell of the sphere, from the very center of the sphere, that's going to be our radius. And so really, our height and our width and every measure of this sphere is just the diameter, or half the diameter, which is the radius. So the way that it works with a sphere is we use the formula volume equals 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. So I know we've been using squared in the cylinder and the cone. For a sphere, it's the radius cubed. So volume equals 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. Now let's see what that looks like when we're finding the volume of a sphere with an actual measurement for the radius. So let's say that we have a sphere. Let me draw one here. Let's see how well I can draw this. Get my dotted line in the back. Here we go. Not perfect. So this is my sphere, and let's say that it has a radius of 4. A radius of 4 inches. So let me 4. Ooh, struggling there. Let me try one more time here. That took me way too long. Oh, I still keep making lines everywhere. All right. So we have a radius of 4 inches. Well, using this formula, we're just going to plug in 4 for the radius. So I have volume is equal to 4/3 times pi times the radius 4 cubed. Now, what cubed means is that we're taking that base 4 and we're multiplying it by itself 3 times. So 4 times 4 times 4. Well, that's where we're going to start as we calculate this. 4 times 4 times 4 is 64, right? 4 times 4 is 16, 16 times 4 is 64. So we have the volume is equal to 4/3 times pi times 64. And now we're just going to carry out this multiplication. So a 4/3 is just like multiplying by 5 and dividing by 3. And you could put that into your calculator as parentheses 4 divided by 3, and then multiply that by pi times 64. That's probably the easiest way to put this into a calculator. So I would type it into my calculator like this, parentheses 4 divided by 3 times pi, use the pi button, times 64. If you don't have a calculator that'll let you put it in this way, you can just do the math as you go here. So we could start out by multiplying pi and 64. So pi is 3.14, or you can use the pi button on your calculator, times 64. When I do that, I get 200.96. And then I'm going to multiply that by 4. And then I'm going to divide that by 3. And I get a volume that's equal to 267.946. So I'll say 95 to round it to the nearest hundredth. And this was in inches, so this will be in cubic inches. Our volume will be cubic inches. So that's our answer right there. Let's do that with another example. Draw another perfect sphere here. Oh, I made my dotted lines go the wrong way. I think you guys can picture that. So here's my radius. I'm going to put it going up this way this time. And let's say that our radius is 6 centimeters. Well, I know that volume is equal to 4/3 times pi times the radius 6 cubed. So now I'm going to start out by doing 6 times 6 times 6, or 6 cubed, which gives me the volume is equal to 4/3 times pi, and then 6 cubed is 216, so times 216. And now I can just put this right into my calculator. It really doesn't make a difference too much what order you do this in, because it's all multiplication and division, which is commutative here. So I could type in 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 216. And when I put that all into my calculator, I get the volume is equal to 904.32 centimeters cubed. Now, what if we had a volume and we needed to find the radius? So let's do this the opposite way here. So let's say that we had a sphere and we didn't know the radius. So I'm just going to write r, but we did know that the volume was equal to 1,208 cubic centimeters. Let's try to use this equation to solve for the radius. So I'm going to plug in the 1,208 for my volume in my formula here. So instead of V equals, I'll write 1,208 equals, and then the rest of this is, oops, not pi yet, is 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. Well, we don't know the radius, so we can't start out by cubing that. What we want to do is we want to get r by itself. And so to do that, I need to get rid of this pi and this 4/3. And if you think back to solving one step equations, when you have a fraction multiplied by a variable and you want to get rid of it, what we do to make it cancel out is we multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal is flipping the numerator and the denominator. So 4/3 multiplied by its reciprocal, 3/4, equals 1 and makes it cancel out. So I'm going to multiply both sides here by 3/4, and I'm going to switch colors to make this a little easier. So multiply by 3/4. 4/3 times 3/4 cancels out to 1. And I'm going to multiply this side by 3/4. And so when I do on my calculator 3 divided by 4 times 1,208, I get 906. So I have 906 equals pi times the radius cubed. Well, now I need to divide by pi to get my radius by itself. So you can use the pi button or 3.14, and you'll get about 288.54. So 288.54, and those pi's cancel out, and that just leaves us with r to the third power. Now, you'll recall all the way back to our very first unit we did this year, when we're talking about the opposite of a cube, or an exponent of 3, it's a cube root. So it's like a square root, but it's a cube root. This means what number multiplied by itself and then by itself again. So multiplied by itself 3 times is equal to this number 288.54. So we're going to cancel out this cubed with a cube root, and I put a little 3 here to signify that that's a cube root. If I do it to one side, I need to do it to the other side, so we'll take the cube root of this side, and my cube and my cube root cancel out to r, and then my cube root of 288.54, when we do that on a calculator, we get 6.61, roughly 6.61. And this was, let's look back at our units. We were looking at cubic centimeters for volume, so that would make this centimeters, just regular centimeters for our radius. All right, I hope that you were able to follow that. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I will see you in the next video.